Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. President Trump declaring the war in Iran militarily won. He's also touting U.S. capabilities against Iranian equipment supplied by China and Russia. The latest from the White House. The Pentagon is deploying another set of warships to the Middle East as military operations against the Iranian regime continue. Israel taking out Iran's Revolutionary Guard spokesman, and the Gulf nations responding to new waves of Iranian attacks on energy sites. Brent oil prices exceeding $119 per barrel after Iran attacked energy facilities in Gulf states. We talked to an analyst about his insight on the situation and the impact on the U.S. U.S. ambassador to the UN says the Trump administration will continue to push for the UN to return to its original mission. The U.S. and Japan unveiled a joint action plan emphasizing securing resilient supply chains. The move aims at reducing reliance on China for critical minerals and rare earths.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. President Trump touting victories from U.S. strikes on Iran to a win on the football field for the Navy. He's also criticizing NATO allies for their lack of willingness to open the Strait of Hormuz. NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao brings us more.
President Trump and the East Room was touting the achievements of Operation Epic Fury, especially noting that 58 Iranian ships were knocked out in just 2 days and that their entire navy has been devastated. The president earlier today on Truth Social also declaring that the fight against Iran has been militarily won. Watch.
I want to begin by just saying we're doing extremely well in Iran. The difference between them and us is they had a navy 2 weeks ago. They have no navy anymore. It's all at the bottom of the sea. 58 ships knocked down in 2 days. And we have the greatest navy anywhere in the world. It's not even close. But we are doing really well. We're not going to let them have nuclear weapons, because if they had them, they'd use them, and we're not going to let that happen. Should have been done a long time ago by other presidents.
Meanwhile, the president is also criticizing NATO countries today for their lack of willingness to help an endeavor by the U.S. to secure the Strait of Hormuz, which is effectively shut down right now amid the war in Iran. 5 European countries, as well as Japan, yesterday issued a statement signaling willingness to help, but concrete action is still pending. And the president today on Truth Social calling NATO countries cowards and also paper tiger without the USA. The president today also calling out China and Russia, saying that U.S. capabilities completely overwhelmed Iranian equipment supplied by these two countries. Watch.
It's not even a contest. They do whatever they want. They can't. They had a lot of great equipment, Russian equipment, Chinese equipment. They had plenty of money. That equipment was useless against us. Useless.
And the president today calling Operation Epic Fury the most complex and successful military operations of all time against the Iranian regime. So today the president welcomed the Navy midshipmen football team to the White House, presenting them with the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. And that's the award that goes annually to the winner among Navy as well as Air Force, their academies. Of course, this year, again, Navy won. That's a streak of 2 years of winning. And here's a lighthearted moment during today's event. Watch.
His arms are like steel. I just hurt my head. I hit his muscle. It's like steel.
And later this afternoon, the president is heading to Florida. We'll keep you updated for any new news if the president decides to speak at the departure. Back to you.
Israel confirming that it killed a spokesman for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Ali Mohammed Nani. Here's the story.
He's the fourth high-profile Iranian official to be killed this week. The IDF says he held multiple roles in propaganda and media operations. The military says for the past 2 years he served as the IRGC's main propagandist and spread the regime's messaging across the Middle East, adding that his work targeted proxy groups to influence and advance terror attacks against Israel. Meanwhile, Tehran stepping up strikes on energy infrastructure in Gulf states. Kuwait says a fire broke out at an oil refinery today following 2 waves of Iranian drone strikes, and a missile alert sounding in Dubai this morning as the UAE responds to an Iranian barrage. The Dubai media office confirming successful interceptions. And another force of U.S. warships and service members are set for deployment to the Middle East. That's according to the Epoch Times. A U.S. military source told the newspaper that the USS Boxer Amphibious Ready Group and the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit are set to sail from San Diego to the waters of the Middle East. The additional sailors and Marines would be joining the 50,000 U.S. troops already deployed in the region. So far, no U.S. ground troops have entered combat with Iranian forces. Meanwhile, U.S. Central Command releasing a new video today. It shows American forces continuing to degrade Iranian combat capabilities by striking military targets deep inside Iran. CENTCOM saying in an earlier message, quote, "No adversary is too determined, and no mission is too difficult for American troops." Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard saying yesterday that Israel and the U.S. have different goals and strategies. She said Israel is focused on disabling the Iranian leadership, while President Trump's objectives are to destroy Iran's ballistic missile launch capability.
Iran executed 3 men yesterday, including a 19-year-old wrestler, for protesting against the Iranian regime. The regime's state media accused them of killing 2 police officers, but human rights groups say the 3 men were executed without a fair trial and forced to give confessions under torture. The Iranian regime ignored demands from the U.S. State Department earlier this year to halt the execution of the teenage wrestling star. Tributes pouring in from the sporting world as Olympians speak out against the teenage star's execution. Olympic gold medal wrestler Brendan Slay sent a statement to Fox Digital saying, "As someone who has traveled to Iran for wrestling twice and welcomed Iranian athletes into our country, I've seen firsthand the dignity and heart of the Iranian people." He added, "That's why it's so heartbreaking to witness a terror regime execute a teenage wrestler." He said his prayers are with Saleh Mohammadi's family and all who are suffering. The NGO named Iran Human Rights says based on footage from state TV, all 3 men were convicted based on forced confessions and that no other evidence was present of their guilt. A congressional report finds the Chinese regime has been manipulating the United Nations to expand its authoritarian reach. Here's Congressman John Mulinar.
The Select Committee on China recently released a report highlighting growing ways the People's Republic of China is working to expand its influence throughout the United Nations. The report outlines several ways the CCP has tried to expand its influence across the UN system through financial contributions and placing PRC officials at key roles in the UN.
The report says China is, quote, exploiting the UN, installing its own personnel in key posts, bankrolling initiatives to counter the United States, and deploying UN troops to secure its business interests. The report explains how the CCP's capture of senior UN positions has allowed it to influence peacekeeping missions. This gives the Chinese army more operational experience and has allowed them to secure areas with Chinese investments. The committee says the United States should keep holding the UN system accountable and keep reining in bureaucratic bloat. It comes as U.S. Ambassador to the UN Mike Waltz is testifying before a House Appropriations Subcommittee today. He says the Trump administration will continue to push for the UN to return to its original mission, streamline its bureaucracy, and cut its budget.
We are working towards a leaner and better prioritized 2026 budget going forward. In December, we led member states to adopt a historic 15% cut, $570 million, out of the UN's regular budget. That will eliminate nearly 3,000 headquarters positions, and for our contribution, it will reduce our assessment by $126 million. So just in the 6 months that we've been here, we will see going forward $126 million savings to the U.S. taxpayer. We've also pushed for a 25% reduction in peacekeeping troops.
The U.S. currently funds roughly 1/5 of the UN budget, the most out of any member state. The ambassador says the Trump administration is pushing to wind down some ineffective and costly UN peacekeeping missions, eliminate duplication, and reduce the size of the agency. He stresses that the U.S. will not fund organizations that are contrary to U.S. interests. The UN will also stop participating in some UN agencies that undermine U.S. sovereignty and cannot be reformed. Waltz states that future funding will depend on continued progress, efficiency, and accountability. He says the Trump administration believes the UN has great potential and will push for the UN to return to the original mission of maintaining peace. The U.S. military says it struck an alleged drug smuggling vessel in the eastern Pacific Ocean, leaving 3 survivors. The strike is the latest in the Trump administration's campaign against drug trafficking. U.S. Southern Command posted on X that it immediately notified the Coast Guard to initiate a search and rescue mission to locate the survivors. According to Southern Command, intelligence confirmed the low-profile vessel was traveling along known narco-trafficking routes and was engaged in drug trafficking. The U.S. military has carried out more than 40 strikes in the eastern Pacific Ocean and Caribbean Sea. A Senate-appointed panel in Washington examines China's malign influence in Latin America. The U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission investigates the Chinese regime's growing threat in the Western Hemisphere. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley has more from yesterday's hearing.
On Capitol Hill, a panel of experts say that the Chinese Communist Party's influence in Latin America is now a direct threat to the United States.
The more ports you control, the more control you have over the global economy.
Chinese companies own or operate at least 10 ports in Latin America, working to turn these into military installations and potentially even spying on or cutting off U.S. trade.
Chinese companies use bribery and opaque procurement processes to secure contracts in the region for projects such as a dam in Ecuador, roads in Bolivia, and ports and other infrastructure in Panama.
And even then, those projects are of low quality, sometimes fail, and leave the host country in billions in debt.
China promises upgrading, right? It promises production. It promises all of these things, and it doesn't ever happen. It has never happened.
And it's not because they're the best option. They're just the only option.
All the startups that are out there in Latin America right now that are capital starved are looking for a U.S. option, and there aren't any.
On top of that, China has also set up police stations across Latin America. The human rights group Safeguard Defenders has found over 100 such Chinese police stations globally, much of them in places like Panama, Peru, Brazil, and several other countries.
These types of surveillance activities are usually or mostly directed at Chinese diaspora populations.
And they spy on everyone else too. Chinese companies are required by law to share any and all information with Chinese authorities. That's why when they do a business deal, it's more than just a business deal.
The mayor of a very large city in Latin America described how when Huawei shows up to pitch their 5G wares, it's the Huawei, the finance, the government, the diplomats, everyone shows up, a delegation of 15 folks from Beijing coming to town, whereas the Western alternatives send a regional sales representative.
As China races to gain control over economies in Latin America, the panelists are urging lawmakers to create incentives for U.S. companies to do business in the region and thereby counteract the CCP. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Jack Bradley, NTD News.
The U.S. and Japan announcing a new action plan to secure critical minerals and rare earth supply chains. The plan was unveiled after a meeting between President Trump and Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi yesterday. The two countries will discuss border-adjusted price floors to create a minimum pricing threshold for select critical minerals. They also plan to coordinate mining standards, technical cooperation, and responses to supply chain disruptions. Trade Representative Jamison Greer says the initiative will expand production and diversity of critical minerals. He calls it a key step to reinforce supply chain resilience and energy security with Japan in the Indo-Pacific. The plan builds on an agreement Trump signed with Takaichi during his Tokyo visit last year. The Trump administration filed a federal lawsuit against Harvard University on Friday. The complaint alleges the school fails to protect Jewish and Israeli students and rewards perpetrators of harassment. The White House releasing a policy framework for artificial intelligence. It aims to prevent censorship, protect children, and limit the burden of energy costs on local communities. We have more after this break. Stay tuned.
According to ancient Chinese medicine, purslane is considered a medicinal herb and is used to help lower cholesterol, improve vascular functions, and prevent diabetes. Perilla seeds can nourish the lungs and spleen. It is used to treat asthma and improve pulmonary functions. Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds from Hwangmae Mountain in South Korea. It contains over 90% of omega-3, 6, 7, and 9. The highest concentration possible without chemical additives. The soft gel is made of natural seaweed. It is 100% organic and vegan. Both adults and children can take it with peace of mind. Ancient recipes were passed down from heaven to bring prosperity and longevity. Puritang green vegetable omega-3.
Getting prescription glasses from Select Specs is easier than you might think. Select your frames from our £6 range in-house brands or our extensive designer collections. Then enter, upload or email your latest prescription and our website will analyze it and help you select the best lenses and options to suit you. Click to place the order and your new Select Specs glasses are delivered right to your door. Ordering your prescription glasses is as easy as 1, 2, C with Select Specs and selectspecs.com.
There's a whirlwind of emotion and activity going on in this painting. And there's chaos all around and threat from below. The wolves surrounding her, and they're anything but unmoved. They're moving all the time, and we sense that. But this old girl remains unmoved.
She's in quite a perilous situation, but she's completely strong and serene, and she's actually meditating. It was very, very well liked because no matter what culture or what sort of walk of life you're from, I think people, they see it and they immediately understand what that energy, what that message is, and they're drawn to it because everybody kind of needs a little bit of that in their own life, of, you know, the steadfast calmness and something to hold on to. It's definitely an inner peace in the midst of something very chaotic, and for a lot of people right now, the whole world is very, very chaotic, so I guess that's another reason why so many people are very drawn to this.
The Justice Department filing a new lawsuit against Harvard. The DOJ accuses the university's leadership of failing to address anti-Semitism on campus. The suit alleges that Harvard has tolerated anti-Semitism among students, faculty, and visitors since the Hamas terror attack against Israel on October 7, 2023. The Justice Department has accused individuals on campus of assaulting, harassing, and intimidating Jewish and Israeli students. According to the DOJ, Harvard has failed to prevent such conduct by declining to enforce its own campus rules. So far, the administration has cut more than $2.6 billion in research funding for the university and terminated federal contracts. Harvard has filed 2 lawsuits, arguing the university is being punished for not complying with the Trump administration's views. A federal judge reversed the funding cuts in December. A major operation to disrupt cybercrime. Law enforcement in the United States, Germany, and Canada taking down infrastructure used by 4 major botnets. The Justice Department says the malicious networks were used to launch attacks against some Department of Defense websites, among other targets. The DOJ says cybercriminals used the botnets to launch hundreds of thousands of attacks. Authorities say the networks infected more than 3 million devices worldwide. Individuals with no security updates or weak passwords faced an increased risk. Most infected devices were pieces of equipment like webcams, digital video recorders, and Wi-Fi routers. The DOJ says some victims reported attacks that resulted in the loss of tens of thousands of dollars. In some cases, the cyber criminals demanded extortion payments from victims. The White House has released a policy framework for artificial intelligence. The administration says a uniform national policy would be more effective than individual state laws. The framework aims to prevent censorship, protect children, and limit the burden of energy costs on local communities. Protections include giving parents control of accounts and devices to protect their children's privacy. Other rules would aim to combat sexual exploitation or self-harm. The framework also calls on Congress to streamline permitting so that energy-demanding data centers can generate their own power on site. The plan will also promote innovation and accelerate AI deployment across industries. The White House says it will work with Congress to turn the framework into law. Florida Czar Tom Homan meeting with Senate Democrats yesterday to break the stalemate on DHS funding. NTD's Melina Weisskopf has more on where the negotiations stand right now.
At a high-stakes meeting on Capitol Hill Thursday, Florida Czar Tom Homan met with several centrist Democrats. He's trying to peel off the 6 additional Democrat votes needed to reopen the DHS. So far, Senator John Fetterman is the only yes vote from the left side of the aisle. The meeting ended with no immediate breakthroughs. Homan didn't offer details, but said they'd keep having discussions. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer rejected the White House's proposal this week, demanding judicial warrants for enforcement and ICE agents to stop wearing masks. These are 2 issues that Republicans have rejected because they say masks protect agents from being doxxed, and judicial warrants would bog down immigration enforcement operations. Now the Trump administration is working to bypass Schumer in the negotiations. The White House is hopeful to win over the same 8 Democrats who broke with their party 2 months ago to end the 6-week government shutdown. Senate Minority Leader John Thune has warned senators that if a deal isn't met by next week, their spring recess will be canceled. Thune telling reporters, "I can't see us taking a break if the government's still shut down." Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
As Congress is battling over DHS funding, are travelers feeling the impact of the partial government shutdown? NTD's Sam Wong was at Ronald Reagan National Airport in D.C. to hear from travelers.
How was your travel? Do you think it was impacted by the shutdown at all?
Not for us. No, it wasn't. We had TSA pre-check, so it was easy breezy for us.
How was it for other people there, though?
Well, not so good. The line snaked around like Disney.
Flight was good. The airport travel was pretty normal. No delays or anything. The lines weren't exceptionally long. We kind of sailed right in and got through security and seamless.
We were scheduled to be back here on Monday, and we're just getting back today. The security checks, going through, they only had like a couple of those open, so a lot of backup.
When we got to the airport, the line was for TSA check was from gate 8 outside. There was maybe about 80 to 100 people waiting out there. Took maybe 3 to 4 hours to check out.
Did you notice a shortage in TSA workers?
Yeah, they closed gate 8, so you had to go to gate B to go through TSA.
The impacts of the shutdown are definitely showing up, and I can tell you travelers are super frustrated. A lot of short tempers out there, not a lot of kind words being said, and a lot of questions being asked, like, why is this happening?
Who do you think is ultimately responsible for the shutdown?
The Democrats, of course. Keeping America safe is #1 priority. And why should people be fighting against that? That I don't understand.
Oh, no, everybody that has control over that does, because they can't get together on it.
Well, I'm going to go with the Democrats on that one. I know they have issues with Homeland Security and whatnot, and that's kind of what they have their own agenda of whether they don't want things to go forward, but I don't think the entire nation should be put through delays and things of that nature because of it.
Honestly, who knows, man? I think it's both parties. It's always both parties. At the end of the day, they all want to get whatever they want.
From what I hear in the news, it's a pretty clear cut that the Democrats have some sort of bone to pick with ICE. Who's your intended victim here? Is it truly the American people? Or is this a bone you have to pick with the administration and the leaders of ICE? So if you got a bone to pick with them, fight with them. Don't get into, impacting the services for the citizens.
A 5-year-old girl seriously injured in a crash involving an illegal immigrant truck driver is now at the center of a push for new legislation. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are calling for changes to commercial driver license rules. NTD's Christina Corona tells us more.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill held a roundtable featuring Delilah Coleman and her father Marcus, sharing their story nearly 2 years after a devastating crash. Authorities say a 20-year-old illegal immigrant driver, Partap Singh, was operating an 18-wheeler when he caused a multi-vehicle pileup, leaving 5-year-old Delilah with a traumatic brain injury, skull fractures, and weeks in a coma. Her father says she lost the ability to walk, talk, and eat.
Mom out here trying to change these laws. There shouldn't be another Delilah out there. Every time one of these accidents happen, it crushes us, our family, because we know that I'm out here doing something about it, at least trying.
Lawmakers say the case highlights concerns over commercial driver licensing and roadway safety.
How do you know what you're picking up if you can't read English? How do you help instruct on loading the truck? How do you communicate with mechanics if you have a mechanical problem out on the road? If you can't speak or read English.
Supporters say English proficiency is critical for drivers handling heavy commercial trucks.
It's common sense that if you want to drive an 80,000-pound truck, you should be able to read and understand the English language. Unfortunately, in 2016, the Obama administration decided to remove the English language proficiency requirement from the out-of-service criteria. As we have seen on the news, this has created disastrous conditions on the roads that have led to several tragic accidents.
This comes as lawmakers advance Delilah's law, which would bar states from issuing CDLs to illegal immigrants and require English proficiency. The House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee approved the bill Wednesday in a 35-26 vote. Last month, Delilah and her father were invited guests at the State of the Union, where President Donald Trump highlighted her recovery.
He said Delilah would never be able to walk or talk, have a good life. She wouldn't even be able to eat again. But against all odds, she is now in the first grade learning to walk. And she's here this evening with her dad, Marcus, a fantastic man.
The bill now moves on to the full House for consideration. Christina Corona, NTD News.
Brent oil prices exceeded $119 per barrel after Iran attacked energy facilities in Gulf states. We talked to an analyst for his insight on the situation and the impact on the U.S. Stay with us.
Food. It fuels our bodies, nourishes our spirits, and brings us together. Because we all need nutritious food to thrive.
Food gives me energy and it also helps me focus.
But not everyone knows where their next meal is coming from. And 1 in 7 people in America face hunger. It's tougher than ever for too many of us. But the simple truth is, ending hunger is possible, and it starts with you. Call or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, to help families in your community facing hunger. Feeding America works from coast to coast with partner food banks, food pantries, and meal programs. Your monthly gift delivers food where it's needed most, puts fresh food on the table, and helps kids have healthy meals all year round, even when school is out.
You can see the difference with the kids when they're full. Food is everything.
Please call the number on your screen or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org. Give $19 a month. Your first gift can double an impact. And we'll send you this free canvas grocery bag as a reminder of how you're helping to end hunger for good.
When it comes down to it, it's about taking care of your family first and the loved ones that you need to provide for.
Food donations help me tremendously, and I'm very grateful for the food bank.
I have hope. The simple truth is, ending hunger in America is possible. You can help make it happen. The need is urgent. Call or go online now to helpfeedingamerica.org, and your gift can double in impact.
I debate all day. It's what I do. But there are some things that are undebatable, like your mental health, my own mental health. I was in a dark place when my brother passed away in a car accident. I've never been more devastated than the day I lost my mom. I was depressed, miserable, in ways I never imagined. I reached out, and my sisters came, my pastor, my therapist. They helped me get through it. I found that the more I spoke up, the healthier my mind became. The chaos that was in me began to subside. I was more focused, clear. When you love your mind, you can go so much further. That's not up for debate. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will hold off on any further attacks on Iran's giant natural gas field at President Trump's request. The South Pars gas field, the world's largest natural gas reserve, is shared with Qatar and is critical to both Iran and Qatar's economies. Netanyahu says Iran no longer has the capability to enrich uranium or produce ballistic missiles.
We are winning, and Iran is being decimated. Iran's missile and drone arsenal is being massively degraded and will be destroyed. Hundreds of their launchers have been destroyed, their stockpiles of missiles are being hit hard, and so are the industries that produce them. That's important.
Netanyahu speaking at a press conference for foreign correspondents yesterday. In a Truth Social post on Wednesday, President Trump saying Israel will not launch further attacks on South Pars unless Iran decides to attack Qatar. If that happens, the president says the U.S. will, quote, blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field. Oil prices falling today as leading European nations and Japan offer to help secure the Strait of Hormuz, and the U.S. outlines moves to boost oil supply. Brent futures falling over $1.50 this morning, and U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures are down $1.30. The French Navy is seizing an oil tanker in the western Mediterranean today. President Emmanuel Macron saying the vessel belongs to Russia's shadow fleet. French officials say the operation was carried out with British allies. The shadow fleet helps Moscow export oil despite Western sanctions. Macron called the ships war profiteers that violate the law of the sea while financing Russia's war effort. France escorted the ship to an anchorage point for further inspection at the prosecutor's request. This is the second such interception by France in recent months. Meanwhile, Ukraine is looking to resume talks with the U.S. and Russia. President Volodymyr Zelensky saying yesterday he sent a delegation to the U.S. The trilateral talks have been on hold while the Iran war dominates international attention. The White House has not confirmed any meeting with the Ukrainian delegation. Zelensky also said Ukraine is helping 5 Middle East and Gulf countries counter Iranian drone attacks. The U.S. and European countries have also requested Ukraine's support. Oil prices hit a high of over $119 a barrel before coming back down. This amid the Strait of Hormuz blockade and other attacks. Joining us now to discuss is Tim Doscher, Executive Director of Unleash Prosperity. Tim, good afternoon. Good to see you as always. So talk to us from your perspective here. How much of this price increase, in your view, is driven by actual supply disruptions versus market speculation? And is there an element of overreaction?
Yes, yes, and yes. I think, Don, that's the best way I can put it. I think that right now we are in the sprint towards the 4 to 6 week mark that President Trump laid out a few weeks back when the war started in Iran, and he said this is going to be. He actually mentioned all of this. You know, we have to watch this. We know there's going to be a temporary setback. You know, things were going great, but then we had to do this. So this will be temporary. And President Trump, I think, is and the great military is on track right now for taking out all of those ballistic missile launch sites in Iran, taking out their ability to create more drones, taking out their ability to launch those drones. And so I think we're seeing right now an effort to take care of what we need to take care of first, and then that will make it a lot easier to secure that strait so we can open it back up, fully open it back up, and make sure those prices can go back down. I am not worried fundamentally that there is a problem. America is producing more oil and natural gas than ever before, and we continue to export it to the world. And I think that's a big reason, Don, why we're not seeing these prices hike up even further.
Okay, so you're saying if the blockade, if the war ends, is resolved, prices will come down?
I absolutely, yeah, 100% they will. And I think that once there's a little bit more clarity in the scene, they're going to fall even further. And I think clarity really is the thing that we're looking for here. Is the supreme leader actually alive? Who's running the show? Is there negotiation on the horizon? Is there going to be a surrender? Who is going to be brokering that surrender? There's a whole lot of things at play, Don, that lead it to sort of this questioning, uncertainty that also drives up those prices. So if we open the straits, that's great. That's wonderful. But then we also have to get this thing over and open that strait up as quickly as possible.
So I think you brought up earlier that the events in the strait will relatively have less impact on the U.S., right? Because the U.S. produces a significant amount of oil domestically, and it doesn't really, rely on the Strait of Hormuz waterway that much.
Well, just remember, oil is it's a commodity. So, the price is what the price is globally. And so we want to continue to contribute to that. And so the strait does affect the price. So we do need to open that up. But I will say this about our own domestic production. Natural gas prices have hardly even jumped since this whole thing started. And that is a testament to President Trump's drill baby drill policies and bringing drills online, renewing and issuing leases and lands to continue to drill, continue to bring this out of the ground. And then also you saw the refinery that they're going to open in Texas, the first one since the 1970s that we're going to bring online here. All of this lends to our ability to continue to contribute to this global supply. And here in America, that's another reason we're not seeing prices as high as they should be. Now, granted, I'm not going to deny gas prices at the pump are definitely higher. That is a problem. And we definitely will have to see a temporary pain for a long-term benefit in removing Iran from this catbird seat where they're able to basically have the say over global oil prices by being right there at the Strait of Hormuz. If we take that out, that's a huge game shifter for the global oil and natural gas price.
Right, a small price to pay for long-term benefits. Can I get your reaction to what Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said, that the president was considering another oil release from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve? Your thoughts on this move?
Well, look, I think the SPR, this is exactly why we have the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. I really do believe, though, that it is a temporary thing. It's a little bit of a blip that cannot be the end-all and be-all. It's fine. It's exactly what we should be using it for. But I also wanted to say, too, that we are in worse shape now because President Biden did a release from the SPR right before the presidential election. It was a campaign thing. So he kind of drained it, and then oil prices went up, so we weren't able to replenish it at a lower price like President Trump did in his first term. So we're sort of at a deficit already at this point with our Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And that's thanks to Biden's bad policies. It's thanks to his political decision to release oil from that. And so while the SPR is a good thing, the best thing that we can possibly do is continue to renew and to issue permits to drill, continue to export that oil abroad, and obviously open up that Strait of Hormuz as soon as possible. And by the way, the Democrats are trying to shut down our ability to export our oil and natural gas abroad, saying that we need to hoard it for ourselves. That's a very bad idea. It would not do what they intended it to do and make prices higher.
Okay, Tim, you bring up the Biden administration. I'll just follow up on that point. Maybe you can compare and contrast for us the current administration's approach to energy versus previous administrations.
It's night and day. It is an incredible difference. Look, there are rigs all off of the shore of California that have been completely shut down. No drilling, no ability to get that oil out of the water. I mean, there's abundant resources there, abundant resources in the state of Alaska, abundant resources in Montana and Wyoming, and permits that I keep talking about were basically halted under the Biden administration. Hardly any permits were issued to go after the oil, go after what's in the ground. Don, we did a study here at Unleash Prosperity that said we have $13 trillion worth of oil, natural gas, and rare earth minerals under our feet right here in the United States of America. And the only thing that's holding it up is our ability to go get it. And so what Biden did was he took a laid back approach to drill baby drill, to mine baby mine. And that set us back years because it takes a while to drill in and get all this stuff out of the ground. And so compared to that to now, we are building on what Trump did in his first term. And we're already seeing the results of it, especially now that Trump has taken an international approach to oil. You saw what he did in Venezuela. You saw how he's sanctioning Russia. You saw how, what he's trying to do in Iran right now. This is a huge boon to the U.S. Energy security. And by the way, most importantly, it's a big shot across the bow to our adversaries in China.
Okay, Tim, just one final thing. In terms of green energy, I mean, it's already been played out. If we look into our European allies, European countries, years of moving away from domestic fossil fuel production over there, pursuing green energy. What has that led to?
Don, I'm so ashamed that I didn't mention the green energy agenda of the Biden administration. And that's why you have your job, because you keep things on track. That is one of the biggest problems with our energy situation today. Biden subsidized green energy here to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars, saying, hey, we're gonna give you government money in order to bring in electric vehicles, in order to stop burning coal and building more windmills and solar panels and things that don't actually produce as much energy as we need. That was the Biden agenda. It was the green energy canard that drove us into the deficit that we are in at this point. The green energy scam you see it played out in Europe, as you mentioned. It goes nowhere, and in fact, people are rejecting it everywhere they can. They're supposed to be, internal combustion engine free by 2030 in Europe. They're barely at 18% EV or hybrid at this point in Europe because nobody can afford it. Nobody wants the EVs. Nobody wants them. So the left needs to stop playing big government, and they need to start playing to what the people actually want and need in order to make life more affordable and better for everyone.
So, Tim, we have a guest who lives in Europe, and he says, compared to the U.S., I mean, their gas prices, we're talking about $7, maybe $8 a gallon. And he says that's largely due to perhaps the energy policies over there. Well, Tim, thank you so much for speaking with us today. Always a pleasure.
Don, have a great weekend, man. We'll see you.
You as well. A group of lawmakers saying legislation is needed to protect Americans from the Chinese Communist Party's threats globally. A bipartisan group of lawmakers introduced the bill, which would investigate the Chinese regime's influence operations around the world. The bill is dubbed the Combating Chinese Communist Party Influence Act. It comes as the Chinese regime's influence has expanded rapidly in the United States' backyard. In Latin America, China has emerged as the region's top trading partner and a major lender, with state-backed companies controlling more than 36 ports across the region. One of the bill's co-sponsors, Representative Pat Harrigan, saying in a statement, quote, "The Chinese Communist Party is waging a quiet war on American influence, and most people have no idea how far it has reached." The bill was introduced on the same day the U.S. intelligence community issued its annual threat assessment. It identifies Beijing as the most active and persistent cyber threat to the U.S. government, private sector, and critical infrastructure networks. Two daughters of political prisoners are speaking out against the Chinese Communist Party's persecution of their families. Congressman John Mulinar is the chairman of the Select Committee on China. He introduced Grace Drexel, who explained how her father, Pastor Ezra Jin was detained for his Christian ministry. Her father and 17 others in his church remain imprisoned.
We asked them what are the things that are illegal. It is for his sermons and for his worship song and such. And really what they are in prison for is because my father's church wanted to be able to make the sacred decisions, like many churches all around the world, like who becomes a pastor, what they can preach on, what kind of small groups they can host, how many people can be baptized, whether or not kids can come into the services. These are the, again, sacred decisions that churches from the beginning of time were making as a church congregation. Rather, the Chinese Communist Party wants to make those decisions for the churches. He is made to sleep on floors without beds and some sort of a mat. There are endless interrogations and use of sleep deprivation as punishment. They are asked to memorize Xi Jinping thought, and there is no access to family, even on phone calls or letters are all being withheld.
Grace also explaining how the Chinese regime is targeting and pressuring her family's lawyers. She says she is very concerned because her family's only contact with her father is through those lawyers. Claire Lai is the daughter of imprisoned Hong Kong publisher Jimmy Lai, who was just handed a 20-year sentence for what human rights activists are calling a direct attack on press freedom. His daughter calls Jimmy Lai's imprisonment a death sentence. Claire describes the harsh punishment her father endures in solitary confinement.
Of those 1,926 days, my father has been in solitary for 1,924, so all but 2. I've heard of his conditions in solitary getting worse over time, to the point where he's on the floor on his own, covered when transported in prison, and has no direct access to sunlight or fresh air. I remembered wondering if him being denied the right to attend Mass, certain pastoral visits, and the Holy Communion were temporary. They were not.
Claire Lai also saying she is extremely grateful to President Trump and his administration for the commitment they have shown toward her father's release. She says she feels humbled to see the world's support for her father was far greater than she expected. Taiwan reiterating that China's military expansion remains a serious threat. A new U.S. intelligence report found Beijing has no plans to invade Taiwan in 2027. However, the report from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence notes China is still developing military capabilities and contingency plans. Taiwan Defense Minister today saying that Beijing never renounced the use of force against Taiwan.
First and foremost, I must emphasize that the CCP has never announced the possibility of a military attack on Taiwan. This is common knowledge. The CCP's military expansion has also never ceased. This year, the CCP announced a 7% increase in its defense budget.
I want to reiterate that sovereignty is the foundation of a nation, and strength is the foundation of peace.
The defense minister saying Taiwan's priority is strengthening its defenses and establishing a credible deterrent. Taiwan President Lai Ching-te visiting a naval base yesterday. He calls for unity and support for national defense. Earlier this week, Taiwanese soldiers conducted live fire exercises on the island of Kinmen, simulating an amphibious assault. China considers Taiwan a breakaway province to be brought under control by force if necessary. Taiwan, a self-governing democracy, rejects Beijing's claims. Chuck Norris has died at the age of 86, his family revealed on March 20th. The legendary action star was famously known for the hit An Eye for an Eye, as well as the TV series Walker, Texas Ranger. More news after this break. Stay with us.
I'm Amy Grant, and I want to talk to you from my heart about the heart. I would have been the last person on the list to say this woman has a problem with her heart. So no, there was nothing about my life that said, you have a ticking time bomb in your chest. But I did. I wound up in the office of a cardiologist because I was there with my husband. And at the tail end of that, the cardiologist looked at me and said, "I want to see you." No one was more surprised than I was to learn I was living with a rare heart condition. He said, "Amy, this condition, you'll be fine, and then catastrophic." A few months later, I had open heart surgery that saved my life. And I owe it to the research and life-saving medical breakthroughs developed by the American Heart Association. That's why I'm asking you to join me and become a monthly donor to the American Heart Association. Please call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough, get the next person trained in CPR, and get the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. If this could happen to me, it could happen to anybody. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, but your support can save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card and we'll send you this special t-shirt you can wear to show you're part of a community of monthly donors working to help save more lives like mine. I'm grateful for the American Heart Association. Their research gave me more time to do the things I love with the people I love. So listen to your heart. I'm here today because I did. Please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now to become a monthly donor and help save even more lives. Thank you.
Hey, boss. Okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
You sure?
I said I'm fine.
Since I was little, it was only like me and my parents. You think you created family out of characters? Yeah, of course. I'm gonna take that into a song.
Jason. Hey, Bob.
You can talk to me.
It's been really, really hard for me.
Action star and martial arts master Chuck Norris has died. His family said in a statement they were keeping the circumstances of his death private, but he died peacefully, surrounded by loved ones. Norris was born as Carlos Ray Norris in Ryan, Oklahoma on March 10, 1940. Before his film and television career, Norris began training in martial arts during an Air Force deployment to Korea. Following his military service, Norris would become a 6-time undefeated world professional middleweight karate champion. He would also go on to found his own American style of karate and the United Fighting Arts Federation. Norris acted in more than 20 movies, including Missing in Action, The Delta Force, and Sidekicks. Perhaps his most iconic role, Norris starred in the popular television series Walker, Texas Ranger, which ran for 9 seasons. He was 86 years old. Shenyun Performing Arts making their return to Rome, Italy, despite a bomb threat the company received the day before. NTD is a media sponsor of Shenyun Performing Arts, covering audience reactions since 2006. Let's hear from some of the theater goers who were sold out at the performance on opening day.
Following a series of sold-out performances at Rome's Auditorium della Conciliazione in February, Shenyun Performing Arts made a return to the Italian capital on March 17th. A day before opening night, Shenyun's local presenter in Italy received a bomb threat sent through email, threatening to blow up the theater should the performance continue. The presenter immediately reported the incident to the police. Authorities conducted a thorough inspection and increased security measures at the theater. Italian Senator and former Foreign Minister Giulia Terzi expressed support for Shenyun in a letter, writing, "I therefore express my full solidarity with the organizers and artists of Shenyun who, in the face of new and growing intimidation, continue to promote the values of an open and democratic society through art." Despite the setbacks, the company still enjoyed a sold-out performance with some of the best reviews to date.
Si vede l'impegno.
You can see the dedication, the physical effort, yet the serenity on their faces. It's rejuvenating. It really gives you a sense of the commitment and the gift that the artists and musicians offer to the audience, to us spectators.
Si vede la dedizione sicuramente.
You can definitely see the dedication, the effort they put into this kind of work. And as artists in our world, which is a bit removed from this, you can really see the work they devote to it, the time, the sacrifice. It's truly admirable.
Sicuramente uno spettacolo artistico.
It's definitely an artistic performance, but one that manages to blend art, entertainment, and great sensitivity. The dancers are spectacular. The performers in general are fabulous, and so it was something that really impressed me.
Mi ha veramente impressionato.
Based in New York, Sheng's mission is to revive 5,000 years of traditional Chinese culture from before communism. Audience members deeply resonated with the values and message of the performance.
Dal punto di vista del messaggio,
in terms of the message, it's a powerful, beautiful message that reaches straight from your eyes to your heart, lifting your spirit. It's beautiful. Everything contributes to this, not just the movements, not just the dance, but also the costumes. Even the lightness of the costumes helps convey this message.
Concorre a lanciare questo messaggio. Ecco,
there's this kind of message of peace, of a return to our roots, to culture, to tradition, and above all, to beauty, because only in this can we hope that beauty may grant us a different future and thus save us.
It's a difficult mission, they've said so themselves. They're based in New York, and it's unlikely they'll be able to return to China to bring this kind of performance to their homeland. So best wishes and the very best of luck to them, so that this dream may one day come true.
Each year, Sheng simultaneously tours the world with 8 different companies, bringing an all-new performance every season, with brand new dances, costumes, and music.
We really like the live orchestra. The live performance is always a rare, beautiful, and precious thing.
Sono profondamente arricchito.
I feel deeply moved and inspired. I go to the theater quite often and see all kinds of shows. This one struck me particularly because it has a very simple, very direct message that really touches the heart.
Sheng will be performing in New York City at the David H. Koch Theater starting on March 25th and will give 18 shows through April 12th. NTD News, Rome, Italy.
President Trump calls out NATO countries over their refusal to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz. NTD Washington correspondent Mario Otsu will bring us more after this break. Stay with us.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers, as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets, regular $69.98. Now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard MyPillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, I have an important message about security. Write down the number on your screen so you can call when I finish. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. This is a lock for your life insurance, a rate lock that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. But be careful. Many policies you see do not have one. But you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. Call this number to learn more. This plan was designed with a rate lock for people on a fixed income who want life insurance that fits their budget and is simple to get. Coverage options start at $9.95 a month, less than 35 cents a day. Act now and your rate will be locked in for life. It will never increase, guaranteed. This is lifelong coverage that can never be canceled as long as you pay your premiums, guaranteed. And your acceptance is guaranteed, with no health questions. You cannot be turned down because of your health. Call for your information kit and read about this rate lock for yourself. You'll also get a free beneficiary planner. Both are free with no obligation. Don't miss out. Call for information, then decide. Read about the 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. Don't wait. Call this number now.
Call now and you'll also get...